Good afternoon, everybody, or morning. I know some of you are in Australia and other countries that are in much different time zones, so thank you for being with us. I see lots of my Connecticut friends on, so thank you. And some of our Route 66 alumni, thanks for being with us today. Today we're going to do a few compositing projects, and we're going to use a little bit of generative AI. I will do some of things I've prepared ahead of time just so we can get through more than one project, but some I will show you the actual steps for it. So let me close this. So our first one is, oh yeah, Dave's reminding me, make sure you stay till the very end today, because after I finish the last project, we're going to do a drawing for 2 entries to the February conference. And if you're already signed up for February, then we'll give you one for June. But you have to be online to win, because we're going to see how many people are on, and he's going to do his random number generator, and then we'll just count down the list, and that's who'll be the winner. All right, so this first project, I'm going to start with a new blank document. So I'm going to go My File, New. And I'm going to use let's go with inches. So I'm going to do a 16 by 20. And I want to do my 300 DPI in case something I decide I want to print later on. And we're going to start with a white background. And I'll say create. And if you do have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat box. Please make sure you do choose everyone from the drop down so everybody can see the question. The webinar is an hour, and yes, it will be recorded. I see that question there today. So I plan to wrap up right about 5 o'clock my time. And it is recorded, and it will be posted by tomorrow, and the links will be, it'll go out to you automatically from Zoom, and it will also be in tomorrow's blog. So the first thing I want to do is bring in one image I want to start with. I'm going to show you what this image started as and then where I got to, because we're not going to use it exactly the way it looks. So this is a photo I took of some very old seed packets. They're actually at one of the places we visit on the Barnes workshops. There's a whole little box full of them at this old house that we go to. And I wanted to use this, but I didn't want it to be in color. I wanted it to be like a sketch effect. So the first thing I did was I deleted the background from my packets, from the original photo. And then I turned this into a black and white. And then I brought in, or changed it to kind of this sketch effect. And I did this in Smart Photo Editor. You can see I also deleted the one big packet here that was like just too dark. So if you purchase the notes and you get all the images and stuff, this is the version of the image that you're going to get. So it will be ready to to work with. And I'm going to kind of place this where I think I want it to be. And you can always tweak these later on. So I'm going to kind of start like that. And I wanted it to be the black and white sketch because I was going for something just kind of light in the background of what I'm going to end up doing. And then I use this hydrangea. And I'm dragging from my other screen, so that's why you see things appearing. And this hydrangea, when I originally photographed it, the leaves were chopped off on the sides, and I used generative AI to fill those in. So I kind of dig in this generative AI, as far as filling things in and just, getting things, pieces that weren't there originally. So I'm going to kind of place this. I'm looking at my finished image on the other screen to see about where I want to place this. Kind of like that. And we'll say okay. And then I want to put a texture in the background. So I'm going to click on my background layer because anytime you add a layer, it always adds above your active layer. So I'm going to bring in, I'm actually going to use several textures, but I'm going to bring in one of my Cosmos textures. And I'll hold my Shift key and resize this. And Stephanie says, do I have a video on how to expand the canvas? I'm going to actually demonstrate that in the next project. I don't have a video on it yet, but I may do something soon. I think I want to do some more like short videos and start posting them on my YouTube channel. In my spare time, yes. Yeah, to the link like to Smart Photo Editor, if you go to my website, is that my link though? Okay. If you use the link from my website, that's my affiliate link, and I do make a few bucks off it, so I always appreciate that. So if you go to the meredithimages.com, there's a page for links and affiliates or links and codes or something like that. And there's a whole page of all of the different companies that I work with. And I only work with companies that I use the products and I believe in and like what they do. Nancy said, can this be done in Luminar Neo? Probably. You can add layers and do different things, and I'm just going to be changing blending mode. So yeah, you could do this in Luminar. I just like working with layers better in Photoshop. I do use Luminar a lot, but when I'm doing stuff like this, I find Photoshop easier because I can just work easier with the layers. But it's whatever you're used to. Any software will do that. Yeah, we have Jim Nix, who does a lot of Neo stuff. He's one of their top affiliates, and he's doing 2 classes on Luminar in our conference in February. So if you're not signed up, Nancy, sign up. And we've got a great lineup. So anyway, I'm going to get on this because I've got a lot to cover today. Okay, so let me try reading my notes here. So I've brought in the hydrangea, and I brought in my cosmos, and I'm going to leave that at 100% in normal blending mode. And I brought in my seed packets. I'm going to be changing the blending mode, so it's going to stand out a little bit better. But next I'm going to bring in this grunge brushstroke texture on top of the cosmos. And we're going to do that. And actually, this texture I want on top of everything, so I'm going to bring that to the top. And then this one I'm going to change to multiply, which is a darkening blending mode, and then bring back the opacity to 48%. And then I want to make these seed packets now. I decided a little bit bigger so they run off the sides of the page a little bit. Kind of like that. And maybe angle them a little bit more. And then I'm going to change my blending mode of those to multiply and bring back the opacity. So that gets rid of all the white in there. When you use a blending the blending mode of multiply, and you have white in the image, it will get rid of the white. It's only going to keep the darker color of the image. So that's going to blend into the background, which is what I was doing. And then I decided to soften the edges of these packets. So I'm going to use a soft brush. Yep, we're down there. I'm going to add a layer mask to the layer of the packets. And I'm going to do my brush opacity somewhere around 50%, just kind of click in the middle. It doesn't have to be exact. And I'm going to just brush these edges a little bit to kind of get rid of like the edge of the line of the package, so they just blend a little bit better into the background. And a little bit on this side. So I just didn't want to see those sharp edges there. Just kind of have it fade into the background a little bit more. Okay. And then I changed the opacity of the packets. I am going to be adding another texture. Somebody following in the notes, I am going to be adding one more in a moment. So I brought those back up a little so they'd show up more. And oh, I did miss the texture. Sorry. We are going to add one more on top of the grunge brush strokes. So I want it up top, and this one called Pinky. And I did skip that step, sorry. Always helps if you read your own notes, right? And this one we're going to change to color burn, which is not one I use all the time, but I kind of liked it on this, and then brought the opacity way down to about 36%. So we're about there. So you can see that was before that color. So it just really, I think it made the flower stand out more and then brought some drama to the background as well. So that's the first project. So yes, this will be recorded, and I'll have it up by tomorrow. Yeah, you'll get a notice from Zoom. Usually it's about 24 hours after the webinar, but the blog should be out hopefully before that, and it will also be in there. Alrighty, so that's the first project. So that was the easy one. How to just select the hydrangea. I did kind of the same thing. I just used the quick selection tool. So if you go to your quick selection and then do select subject on that original image, it did a pretty good job of selecting it, and I just kind of, adjusted a little bit here and there, and then delete the background so it was on a transparent layer. When you're doing that to an original photo, if you just got the one layer, you'll need to unlock the background layer. Just click that lock to unlock it so that when you delete the background, it becomes transparent and not a solid color. It will typically choose, I think, your foreground color. So just make sure that layer is unlocked so that you can get the transparency there. Yes, I do sell textures, Jackie. They're in my on the website, meredithimages.com, and I'll show you all that at the end as well. I have a slide with some of that stuff. But yes, I do have quite a few texture sets. Alrighty, so let's move on to our next one. The next one's a lot more involved. So this was a simple composite. So I'm not going to save that. So my next one, we are starting with this image. And I actually, let me open my original. Yeah, and if you do, please make your questions to everyone at the bottom where you type. There's a 2. Just click on that box and select everyone so that way everybody can see the questions as well. So what I did first, and like I said, I did some of this ahead of time just because of timing. That's my original image, and it had the cemetery stones here and gates in front of all of these because even though you could walk around this and go into the cemetery, they didn't want people walking under the gates because these bricks are falling, and they're trying to preserve this. This is Mount Moriah Cemetery in Philadelphia. So I used generative fill to first get rid of this stone. So this was the first one. And again, I'm going to show you how it works in a second on another piece. And then, so I did this in steps, and then I got rid of those 2, and then I got rid of that gate. So even though the trees are a little bit different, it still looks natural enough. And I know this, I was going to get rid of these trees because I'm putting something else in here. I was really just wanting to get rid of the gate around the edges. And same thing on the right. I just wanted to get rid of that gate. This one I didn't even do. I do end up just cloning a little bit later to get rid of some of the fence because I'm cropping. I'm going to crop this. So this is kind of where I started. And then I also added to the sky, and that's when I got this, and I replaced the sky with one of my own. So I did do, over here, I did do the generative after the fact. And then I did the sky replacement, and this is one of my skies, and you'll get that with the set. But this is the starting image that you're going to get to work with in the with the notes and stuff. So here's the sky replacement. So now let's get to the really cool stuff. So I wanted to put some stone steps here. I wanted you to be able to walk up into here, and I'm going to have a different picture in the background here. So I'm going to start with these steps. And I also used some generative fill to expand these because they were kind of cut off in here. So I selected these because obviously I don't want this background. And here's the PNG. And I ended up cropping some of the bottom, but just got rid of that house and stuff here. So what I want to do now is bring this into this image. So let's get rid of that one. No. So I'm going to use my move tool, and I'm going to separate that tab, and I'm going to bring these steps over into here, just like you would drag in a texture or anything else. And now I'm going to work on sizing them. Nope, and they're not at the top because they're behind all of that. So let's just put that. Where'd they go? Yeah, they went in here. I don't want them in here. I want them above that. There we go. So we can collapse that back down. Okay, so I'm going to start working on sizing this. I'll bring it in so I can see better. And I wanted the sidewalk to kind of go right up about in there. And then I'm going to bring the steps kind of like that. And then what I wanted to do was to skew these a little bit, because the arch, you're kind of, looking at it a little bit from the side, and I wanted the steps are kind of straight on. So I wanted to manipulate this just a little bit. So I'm going to go into Edit, Transform, and I think I was say my notes, read my notes, Hazel, distort. And then I just kind of pulled this side out a little and this side out a little, just so they looked a little bit more at an angle. And then we can maybe stretch it up a little bit. And that looks pretty good for now. And then when I got to this point, I decided I didn't want these caps on the top here. I just wanted the sides and the steps. And so I'm going to add a layer mask. Or you could use the erase tool. If you really know that you don't want them back, you could erase it. Obviously, masking is always preferred. I'm going to make my brush harder, not quite all the way hard, but it's because it's a straight edge that I want to create. Make my brush a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to, let's take it back to 100%. And just mask off the part I don't want here. Same thing on this side. And that looks pretty good. Maybe change that, soften that back edge just a little bit, like that. All right. And then I'm going to look at my finish to see. Yeah, it's probably a little bigger. So I'm going to bring these down just a little bit, size-wise. But stretch them up, out to there. That works. All right, so that's our steps. So now I wanted to change the color of the steps to match closer to the color of this stone in the arch. So I did that by, and this is almost a black and white already, so I'm just going to add the gradient map directly to this. If these had a bright color in it, I would change them to a black and white first, because a gradient map, when you're trying to change color, will work better on a black and white. So I'm going to add a gradient map layer. And now I'm going to clip that to the steps, because I don't want to make everything the color I want to change it to. So I'm going to hold my Alt key, put it between those two layers, and clip. So now this adjustment is only going to affect the steps. I'm going to click in here. And I'm just going to work with this and make my own colors. So the color on the left, I'm going to click in the color box. And the number I ended up with was 300F0A. And I selected that like out of the lighter tones, or actually the darker tones of the steps, the stone up here. Can't talk today. And then on the right-hand side, first I got to say okay. And then we're going to click this box and then the color box. And this one we're going to do C6A790. And we'll say okay. And then I added another color stop about a quarter of the way over. So I'm just going to click under this bar, and that will give me another color stop. And I did 58320C, just because I wanted a better gradation in there, and I changed, that's actually about where I had it. I'm going to say okay. And then I made the location 29, which is pretty much where it was at. And then say okay. So then to this gradient layer, I wanted to add a brightness and contrast adjustment. So again, our layer, and then I also want that clipped just to this. So I'm going to hold the Alt key, click between my layers, and I brought the brightness down to 14 and the contrast up to 29. So I was trying to get it closer to the color of this. Okay, so that's there. So next what we're going to do is I want to mask out this archway because I'm going to put another picture in here. So we're going to go back to our image, add our layer mask, grab our brush, foreground is black, and make it bigger, and let's, yep, it's working. I got to turn off the one below it so you can see where it's actually erasing. So we're going to go kind of right along the edge of our arch here. And I want to make sure I get the grass down behind this. And let's see, what's the hardness? I'm going to go all the way up on the hardness of this brush so I get a nice sharp edge. And you may have seen me do this before. If you want to draw a straight line or connect 2 points, if you click once, then push the Shift key and click again, it will connect those 2 points so you can get a straighter line. And it does work around curves if you go carefully, like I did there. And I'm doing this, of course, quickly because I want to get through lots of stuff for you guys. And then we can do the inside. And that will work. And this is actually part of the sky replacement. So I ended up going to the sky replacement group. And on this layer, I think it was, see how there's some sky kind of showing here because there was sky in the original picture. So I'm just going to, on this mask, just mask that right out of there. So that's what that little shadow was part of that layer. And then I have some over here, but that's okay because we're going to end up probably cropping this a little bit more too. Okay, so in this area, let's go back to our top layer. I want to bring in now a new photo. So I need to do that below this image. So we're going to select this one because I want it behind here, so it will be behind the arch. And I'm going to bring in this shot of dogwoods in the fog that I took in the Smokies. And this one I ended up really squishing a lot to make the trees taller. Kind of bring it in. See if I can get it kind of like my finished image over here. I'm looking at my little one on the other screen. Let's bring that up just a little. So you can always, manipulate your photos. You're not limited to the dimensions that they already are. You can stretch things and squish things, and I wanted the trees to be thinner, you know, so it looked better back here. And then I also added a brightness and contrast layer to this, and we're going to clip that to this layer. Whoops, wrong one. Clip that to this layer. There we go. And I brought the brightness down and the contrast up. And I'm still getting something here. So there's another layer we got to look at under our sky. So there's a lot of, this one right here, a lot of things you have to just kind of look at, you go back to, you can refix. Yeah, so that's this. Hang on one second. Where are you dragging them? I'm looking, I'm working with 2 screens. So I'm dragging it. I'll show you my folder. I have everything like set up and ready to go. So this was the picture I just dragged in, and I just clicked it and dragged it over. If you are not working on a second screen, what you would do is go to File, Place Embedded, and I'll do that with the next image, and that will drop the picture in here on a separate layer as well. So let me get to the next step and I'll show you that. So behind, actually I kind of already covered over that. I added a blank layer below the stairs and then kind of painted in some of this grass. We can do that. I didn't want it to be like this sharp kind of divot here. I wanted to make the sidewalk a little bit wider. So let's go to our stairs. I'm going to add a blank layer below it. So when you click on the new layer icon, it would add above your current layer. If you hold the Control or Command key and click the plus sign, it will add it below it. Just saves you from having to drag things around. So I'm going to grab my brush, go to a little bit softer brush. And I sampled a color from the walkway, so click our foreground color picker, and I'm going to click in here. Okay, and make this smaller, and I just kind of filled in, and this doesn't have to be perfect because I am going to be changing all of this, and that doesn't look very good. How come? I'm below my stairs. I should probably go, I'm going to bring this all the way down below the arch as well. And let's try it in here. That way it won't go over the arch, it'll just be behind it. But that's too far up. I just wanted to add a little bit in here. Oh, that's why, because I'm at 100%, and I wanted to lower that some. There we go. So I just wanted to add a little bit more color in here. Just kind of fill that in, but that's pretty good for now. All right, so next we're going to go to the top of the layer stack. So now I want to bring in a hot air balloon. So here's, we can go our File, Place Embedded, and then you'll select your image from wherever you have it saved and say Place. And it's going to bring it on a layer at the top, you know, above whatever layer you had highlighted, and I wanted this at the top. So we're going to make this smaller. Kind of like that. And then I didn't want it to be that bright, so I'm going to add a black and white adjustment layer. And then again, I want to clip that, so Alt click in between, and then I can adjust the tones. So I move the reds to 88, and this will basically brighten and darken the original colors, and then brighten up the yellows a little bit. And then I added a hue and saturation adjustment above. Oh, that's down under the gate. Okay, so we're going to go back to the gate. And this. So I'm going to merge these two layers because I want everything that I do to the gate to also affect this part. So we can merge these two now. I left them like that so you could see what I did. So let's go those two layer. This is in the notes, merge layers. So now on here, I want to do a hue and saturation adjustment. Again, we're going to clip that to that layer. Saturation on the master, I brought down -39. And then we're going to change on the yellows, -25. And on the green, -32. 3, somewhere around there. And then I duplicated this adjustment layer, and I'm going to move it above the steps layer. So let's do a Control J. And then we're going to take this and move it up. Come on. Up above the steps and clip it. Oh, it already did. Okay. But it's not doing anything. How come? Oh, because I have other adjustments there. There we go. Because I have the steps and 2 adjustments, it needs to go above those 2 adjustments. Okay, so now our steps are still like this kind of a color. So now I wanted to add a light beam in here. So above the dogwood layer, I'm going to add a blank layer. And in the notes is a set of brushes you can download for free. They're from Obsidian Dawn, one of the companies I've gotten quite a few things from. They're free, but it says you must credit the maker if you publish the work, or you can buy a license for just $4 if you are going to do something to sell. So I'm going to go to my brushes, and I go down here. Light beams. We're going to be using the lightning in a moment. So it's the light beams, and I'm going to use burst 6. And Sandy, I put the forest in there just because I wanted to. I wanted this to be one of those kind of surreal, make you think type of images, and kind of going from one world to another. So the real world's in color, and the background's going to be kind of mostly black and white. Okay, so this we're going to make 500 pixels. So we're going to use my bracket key to make that smaller. I want my brush to be white. And 100% opacity, because I can always lower the opacity because it's on a separate layer. And then I put the light beam, look at my finished one again, kind of in here, like that. And then just click the one time, and then I did lower this opacity to about 88%. Like that. And now I'm going to add a layer behind the balloon. And hold my control, hit the new layer. And now we're going to add some lightning to the sky. So we're going to use that other set of brushes that are right up here. Again, these are from Brush Easy, which has lots of free brushes available. and the link is in the notes. Have I printed a? I have not yet. I'm just kind of starting to play around with it, but I don't think it would have any issues. I mean, it doesn't look like you've created something when you do, and I've started playing a little bit with Adobe Firefly, which we'll talk about in the next project, where I created something from just a prompt because I wanted a coffee cup for the next image and I didn't have what I wanted, so I created it. So again, this isn't the kind of stuff you're going to put into competitions and camera clubs because it's stuff that you've created, but it's a great way to create some stuff with your own photos and kind of look at your images. And what I started doing when I was pulling images I wanted for these projects, as I was going through folders of images, I made a separate folder with components for composites. So like different buildings and skylines and just different things that you could pull parts of to use in a composite. I just started making different categories, one for like buildings, and sometimes you shoot windows or doors or things like that. I did all different categories. I'll show you guys that at the end if we have a few seconds. Brushes are allowed in competition because Photoshop comes with brushes. So I wouldn't have a problem using that. Again, it's always best to check with your, whoever's in charge of that particular competition, just to be sure. So I'm going to start with number 16 at 1300 pixels. And again, I'm on white and 100%. And this one I'm going to put kind of over here. And then I'm going to put each one on a separate layer so I can move them independently if I want. So then we're going to go to brush number 11 at 1600 pixels. And this one I want over here towards the left side. Yes, brushes can be rotated as well. Good point, dear. So if you have, in the lightning, typically they are aiming down already, but if you wanted something like coming out of the side, you just go into your brush settings, and this wheel will, if you rotate it, then your brush would be, at an angle, so you could come out of the corner if you wanted. So brushes can always be adjusted. And then we're going to add one more layer. And we're going to use number 15 at 1300 pixels. And this one I kind of did in the middle behind the balloon, like that. And then, yes, the notes are available for purchase in my web store. They're on sale for $7.50, and you get the notes and all of these components and textures, so you can recreate the projects along with, watching the replay. And that's on meredithimages.com. Click on the Peacock Studio down at the bottom, and then you can choose webinar notes category from there. And this is webinar number 36, so it should be the top ones in that once you click on it. So then I started making a few adjustments. I went back to my starburst, and it's a good idea when you're doing this kind of stuff to rename your layers. And if you forget, yep, okay, I turned that off, so I know that was it. I would name this like starburst and then the different lightning ones so that you know what it is, because it's real hard to see it, on a layer like this. And I went back to this one and I just made it a little bit bigger. And you could position things any way you want. And then back up to the balloon, and you could, adjust your size here if you wanted. I think I went a little bit smaller, not much. And then ended up moving it kind of down a little bit. And then I turned off the black and white adjustment layer here and instead added a hue and saturation adjustment layer. And again, it is clipped to it already. And just brought the saturation down. So instead of doing a black and white, I decided to go with just a hint of color, kind of after the fact. So you can always come back and change all these things. And then also, so this one I can actually delete. Yep, oh, I want to delete the whole layer. And then I'm going to add a brightness and contrast. And we're going to clip that. And I brought the brightness down up to 20. And then I brought in a last texture to kind of pull it all together. At the top, I'm going to use this grungy gray texture. And I'm just going to rotate it and stretch it. And this one I did at multiply and 65%. And there you have it. That is our finished project. So this one's got a lot more steps than our first project. And it was something I get inspiration for some of these things from Pinterest, and I'm going to show you the inspiration image for the next project in a sec. And it's just kind of, it's neat to, take something and then make it your own. And the interest was, there's a lot of creative things where people have done like, kind of portal type things to, into the sky or to wherever. And I remember this picture I had of this gate, and I thought, let's see what I can do with that. And I just wanted, walk up in, and it's a different world, and with the gray. And I should have cropped this a little bit. I did crop the sides a little bit more in my finished one. Thanks, Amy. Glad you like it, and Linda. Yeah, it's complicated, but it's kind of as you go, you kind of make the changes, on the fly. And then, like I said, you can come back and adjust things. So you don't have to get it exactly right the first time. Did I finish with the brown color by the stairs? Yeah, it didn't come out as good. Let me open up my finished one. It's hard to recreate something like this exactly the same. So even if you try and do it, it may not be exactly the same. Yeah, I just did a little bit here. I didn't do as much. So I did a little too much on the other one. But I changed the sky to black and white, which I don't think I did over here. I think I did that before I started. The reason that I didn't change the sky on the final one, it was just kind of like a gray day sky, but I was having a trouble making a selection. And so I ended up doing a sky replacement, which worked. And I should have just made that black and white, which I guess I can't because I have the sky. Yeah, the sky replacement is here. So we could add our black and white above that and clip it to that group. There we go. So now the sky is black and white, which is what it should be. And you could fine tune it. So I don't remember if that was in the notes. I might have skipped it. So I kind of wanted it to be, color and walking into the black and white and just something different. Yes, you could change the lightning flashes. Just select a different color than white when you're doing them. But because the sky was black and white is why I went with the white. But you could definitely make them any color that you want. Just select your color when you select your brush. And just, you can... What's that? I didn't hear it. Holly said, might be why I haven't gone on balloon ride yet. Yeah, they don't usually fly in bad weather, so this is not what you would see in that point. So yeah, just come up, choose a yellow, however color you want it to be, and you could definitely, well, I have to make a letter. Let's make a layer up top so you can see it. And It still kind of came out white because of the texture under it, but you could, oh, it defaulted back to white for some reason. There you go. But you can just choose your color. All right. Clipping. Yes. So clipping is, it comes in handy when you want to make an adjustment and you don't want it, like with the black and white, I don't want it to apply to the entire image. I only wanted it, like with this balloon, I just wanted this hue and saturation and brightness layers to apply only to that layer. So when you do that clipping, let's undo this one for a second. When you put the cursor between the two layers, hold the Alt key or Option on a Mac, and when you get that symbol of the square with the arrow and you click that, you'll see that this moved over and now you've got a little arrow pointing down. That's telling you this layer is clipped to this layer. So anything I do here is only going to affect that one layer. And same thing this one. I do have one more project, so I'm going to move on. But so that by clipping those, they're only affecting the balloon and nothing else. All right. So let's close all this because I have another one I want to show you. So this one, I'm going to show you my inspiration image, which was that. And I thought, that's kind of cool. Oh, we don't need the lightning bolt right now. So I thought, that's kind of cool. I could do something like that. So I did not have a shot of a coffee cup of any kind that, was the right shape or color or whatever. So in Adobe Firefly, I created that totally with a prompt. There's no photo involved in this at all. And Adobe Firefly, if you have the Creative Cloud, you have access to the Adobe Firefly. And you just open it up as a separate website. It's firefly.adobe.com. And you just type in here what you want. And I wanted a white coffee cup on a plain background. Something, I don't remember the exact prompt, but something like that. And then you just click generate. And it will give you some options. And you can click either art or photo. I definitely want to be on photo for this. I don't want it to look painterly. And there's 4 options. And then if you don't like any of those, just click generate again and it'll give you 4 more. If you like one of those, just download it. I have not printed any of these yet. Like I said, I'm just starting to play around with this. But you can always, if the resolution isn't good, I haven't even checked it, but I would use, Gigapixel AI to upsize it if I need to do it. No, you cannot do this in Photoshop itself, not creating something with a total prompt. You can adjust things and fill things, but Firefly is the way you would create something totally from scratch. So if we go back to our Photoshop, I was going to show you how to do a generative. So let me bring in my flower again. And I'm going to crop it real quick and just to show you how the generative fill. Whoop, let's crop this. And I'm just going to crop off the leaves. So now I want to add leaves. So you're going to have your layer. Make sure it's unlocked. Take your crop tool and just bring the sides out. And then down at the bottom, if you don't have a toolbar under Window, there's this contextual taskbar is the new generative AI bar. I keep mine docked down here because otherwise it floats around the screen and drives me crazy. And then I'm just going to click on Generative Expand. I did that already. Oh, because I went off of it. It's got to be like live. I clicked off of it, so it cropped it. So from here, I'm going to get to that. So I'm not going to tell it what to put in here. I'm just going to let it figure it out. and just click on generate. And again, it's going to give me 3 options. And Firefly is free if you have the Creative Cloud. So this decided to add some background to it because I had a transparent background. So that might not work so well, but I did this originally with the actual image. But that's what it can do. And then it gives you 3 versions, so you can check them and see which one fits best for what you're looking to do. You can see they're different shapes of leaves. And again, if you don't like any of them, you just hit generate again and it'll add 3 more below it here. Or you can type in something that you want. So that's kind of the basics of how that works. No, we're not going to say that right now. So for this one, I'm going to go quickly because we're kind of running out of time. So let me look at my notes. So I'm going to bring in my Boston skyline, which I already deleted the background of, so it's on a transparent layer. And I'm going to reduce the opacity a little for now, just so I can see the cup underneath. And I didn't end up using the whole thing. I'm trying to look at my finished image. I kind of went from, I think, about there to there. And so that size works pretty well. And then I did kind of stretch it up so the buildings were a little taller. And we'll say okay. And I'm going to open up my finished one so you can see, just because it takes time to mask all of this. So then I added a layer mask. And let's open up the finished one. And masked away. And I also took out some of the buildings in between so there was more space in there. So I'll show you. Here you go. So let's go with our cup. Oh, go away. And here's our layer here. So I added some masking and I masked out some of the buildings in between, just so that they separated a little bit. And then, and when I generated the original cup, let's go down here. It had this like table in front of it, which I thought was really weird. So I made a copy and then I did the generative AI to just get rid of that. And I also didn't like this shadow, so I circled that and did generative AI to get rid of that. And then I brightened it. And then we added our skyline. And I changed it to black and white. Adjusted the brightness. And then I brought in some clouds. And again, I did these on separate layers. There's a set of cloud brushes. And in the notes, I have a screenshot of where to download it. Because some of these sites, especially when they're free ones, they have tons of ads and it's like, download here, click here. And it wants you to download something that's not what your product is. It's, toolbars and different dumb things that you don't want. So I put a screenshot in the notes as well, so you know you're getting the right thing. And so then we added 1 set of clouds, 2 set of clouds, 3 set of clouds. And then I went up top. And then I put 1 in the middle and I masked off some of it so it was like behind the buildings. And I do have the numbers here. Then I brought in an airplane. That's a shot that I took. Wasn't a great one, but it worked for this image. And then I also brought in some of my birds. That's from one of my bird brush sets, but I used the PNG that comes with it. And I don't know. I didn't even look. I would have to check that. I don't know what the resolution is. And for what I was doing here, like I said, it wasn't really all that super important. Let's go, if I go to image size, if it tells me. It's 72, but it's real big. So I would take this into gigapixel and make it 300 DPI in a smaller size, most likely. to get it. If I were going to make a print of it, I would definitely upsize it. And I use Gigapixel for that, and it does a great job. Yes, all the links to all the brushes are included in the notes. I can't give you those, so you have to go to the site and download them yourself because they're not mine to give away. But I do give you the links that I used. And then, did you pull Joel numbers yet, babe? Okay. I'm going to show them a couple others that I started playing with, so you can go ahead and do that. We have 174 people online. A couple others that I've just started playing with, and I think I need to finesse these a little more, but to give you some more ideas, is this one. I've seen a lot of things where they do like summer and winter, and I have another one that's day and night. So with this one, I took my original photo was this, which was on a foggy morning. And I just made a selection of half of it and then duplicated it. So I have the right-hand layer and then I have the left-hand layer separate. Actually, I did generative AI to add some leaves to the tree. So even though it changed the shape a little, I thought it would work for this project. And then that was something I painted out later. And then this is a merged layer of the right-hand side. And then I did a hue and saturation adjustment and changed the sky. And then on the other side, that's just a copy. I cloned out the swing. I wanted this to be, I made it a black and white. And I used this generative expand. I marked off this area down here and told it I wanted snow on the ground. And that's what I got. And then I made that layer black and white. And then I used layer cake to add snow. And this is the Studio Magic. If I go to, actually, I want the other one. You can do season shifting, and I did the let it snow, and you can control how much snow and how it spreads around, and so that's how I created the snow. And give me 1 second. I just want to quickly just show them this one, and then that one I kind of like. I like the summer winter. This one I'm not sure I like as much, and it was a similar process where it was an original tree image. That's the left side. That was the whole thing. Adjusted colors, changed the sky, and then brought in, I actually photographed this out in New Mexico. Well, I got to bring all these layers back on. And then I darkened, I adjusted that and then darkened that area down here to kind of make it look more like nighttime. You know, this is the kind of fun stuff, though, that you can play around with, and it's really pretty neat. I'm having some good fun with it. I've done some composites before, but the generative AI definitely brings it to a new level that you can adjust things easier, create things that aren't there that you need, or like the coffee cup, create it from scratch. Okay, go ahead, babe. What's the first number? Oh, you already looked him up? What's that? Ann Smith. Okay. Ann is on? Oh, yeah, because she was, okay, number 5. So, Ann, you have them written down? And Susan Burdick. So you guys are the winners of entry to the February conference. And I will send you the instructions to register for the Zoom part of it. And if you're already registered, then we'll give you the June conference, but I don't think you two are. So you'll get to watch our conference. And let me throw up our last slide. Right about at 5. So yes, anything you want to check on the website, it's meredithimages.com. The conference info is there. We have a really good lineup, so check it out. It's been in the blog and newsletters as well. The $39 early bird expires at the end of the month. We do have 2 big workshops in October. We're doing a Route 66 workshop again, as well as a Southwest workshop. And the price includes all your hotel rooms, meals, entry fees to any of the parks and museums we go to, and we all travel in a 15-passenger van. And if you sign up by the end of the month, you save $500. And again, the notes are available, and you get all the images and textures we used and brushes, you know, all the links and everything that you need to recreate the projects. Phew! Managed to get that done by 5 o'clock. If you think of any questions after, feel free to email me as always, hazel@meredithimages.com. Yeah, I think I didn't get to the bottom. I got stuck up higher, and let's see. Studio Magic is one of the companies I work with. I believe it's on the website. If it's not on the website, I'll include that link in the blog tomorrow. Let me make a note of that. And I'll see what he can do for a special for me too. Congratulations. The generative fill bar that I have docked, that is under your window pane. It's this contextual taskbar. So if it's not checked off, you want to check that. And I said it likes to kind of move around as you're doing different processes. So to dock it, I went to, I think under here, yep, you can pin the bar position and then move it, or you just drag it with that where you want it to stay so it's not in my way, because I hate when things like that are popping up all over the place. Thank you all for being here. Let's see. Oh, you did? Yeah, if the conference is recorded and you get to watch the replays for 60 days. So if you're only available for 1 day or even no days, you can still purchase it and watch it after. So you'll have 2 months to do that till May 1st. And we do speaker notes from our speakers. There's a goodie bag with some freebies and discounts, and we get door prizes. I've already started to get confirmation from some of my sponsors. We have some money you can spend from Think Tank. We have licenses for Luminar and for Photomatics, and I'm waiting to hear back from a few others that we usually have, and they're always very supportive, so that's a good thing. Thank you. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. I think I got to everything. Glad you guys like the Sunday samplers. Thank you. And let's see. I think I got everything. Yeah, I have to test a print on the generator, but like I said, I'd probably run it through Gigapixel, even if I'm not really enlarging it, just to make sure it's what I want it to be, because I know that will clean up anything, you know, that is funky in there. So yes, I'm going to do a video and put it in the blog tomorrow, because I didn't have time to cover that now, Virginia, about the panoramas, but I will do a little video on that for you. Alrighty, I think that's a wrap. Thanks again, as always, everybody. We really appreciate your being here and your support all the time. So grab some of the notes and sign up for the conference, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.